This has been a very interesting hearing. Mr. Waltz, welcome to Oversight. Yes, it usually gets like this. Look, let's be very clear. This isn't about Hunter Biden's white privilege. It's about Hunter Biden's Democrat privilege. Because Donald Trump Jr. showed up for 5 congressional subpoenas. There was never this circus where he was subpoenaed by House Democrats and he showed up on the Senate side or showed up at the White House to answer in some fake, phony, lame press conference, not actually going to the House and doing what he was compelled by a subpoena to do. Hunter Biden did that.
Welcome back to MAGA News Central. A routine oversight committee hearing quickly turned into one of the most heated political showdowns on Capitol Hill. At the center of the debate was Hunter Biden, a congressional subpoena, and a growing dispute over whether Congress should enforce its own rules consistently. Representative Byron Donalds argued that the issue was simple: compliance with a lawful subpoena. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez saw it very differently. What followed was a sharp exchange that highlighted the deep divide in Washington over accountability, oversight, and equal treatment under the law. Let's break it down.
This has been a very interesting hearing. Mr. Waltz, welcome to Oversight. Yes, it usually gets like this. Look, let's be very clear. This isn't about Hunter Biden's white privilege. It's about Hunter Biden's Democrat privilege. Because Donald Trump Jr. showed up for 5 congressional subpoenas. There was never this circus where he was subpoenaed by House Democrats and he showed up on the Senate side or showed up at the White House to answer in some fake, phony, lame press conference, not actually going to the House and doing what he was compelled by a subpoena to do. Hunter Biden did that. And then he has the unmitigated gall to show up here when we know that we're going through actually the legislation for contempt with, by the way, Mr. Chairman, we should actually get to the legislation of contempt. The speechifying is great, but let's do our business, members. He has the gall to come here, show up, and then when the Democrats are saying, hey, he wants to speak, he leaves. This is a joke. This is a farce. The man has been subpoenaed by Congress. Oh, and by the way, the January 6th committee, Mr. Raskin, which you did sit on, by the way, that was not a normally ordered committee of Congress because Nancy Pelosi did not want the Republican members that then Leader McCarthy put up.
According to the courts, it was.
My time, sir.
Will you yield for a correction?
I was respectful of your time. I didn't say anything. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's move forward with our business. He should be held in contempt. There was a subpoena. He did not answer it. Any other American will be held in contempt by Congress. Any other. This is Democrat privilege of the highest order. Let's do our jobs. I yield.
Gentleman yields. Chair now recognizes Ms. Ocasio-Cortez from New York.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to address briefly, quickly, that moment about privilege and all of this that we're seeing here. It was a very beautiful speech by the gentlelady who, as she mentioned, was helped lead on the now majority side, the Civil Rights and Civil Liberties Subcommittee. But I think it's so exemplary of the point that she also oversaw the elimination of the Civil Rights Subcommittee on this committee, which really kind of gives the whole game away. We show up, we give speeches, we give flowery words, but at the end of the day, participate in the structural erosion of the rights and representation of people that are marginalized, women, people of color, people that just need to see their due process and civil liberties protected in this country. But I will move on. As also the Republican side had mentioned in their many raisings of the January 6th committee, that it's not just Hunter Biden, you, me, any individual subject to equal treatment under the law, to be held up to accountability under the law, but it is also these committees and this committee that is subject to oversight and law. We must comply with the law here as well. Now, I may be one of the very few people that actually believes in Congress, in this country. But I do, and many of us do here. And we have an obligation to engage in good faith participation to execute and comply with the subpoena. The chairman said in front of the country several times to Hunter Biden, you can show up here in front of the world, in front of the public. Hunter Biden took him up on that offer. He said, I will show up in public. I will show up in public. He showed up here today. He showed up here in the past. And Mr. Chairman, I know you do your best with what you've got, but you've got members here that have submitted falsified evidence to the record. You have members here that have submitted and mischaracterized closed-door hearings, and people want to say back and forth at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what party it's happened from. You've got members who've engaged in revenge porn in this committee. So it is understandable why Hunter Biden would want to testify in front of the public for the American people to be able to witness that testimony for themselves. You've got members who've defied subpoenas. You've got members who we are 1 year into the term asking what the rules are at the beginning of the committee. The book was given to us on day one. And so what we should do is allow the man to testify. I believe in the power of the Oversight Committee. Frankly, I believe in it regardless of whether Republicans or Democrats have the chair, because I believe that this committee should have the power of oversight, and we cannot do that on a partisan basis. And so for that, I implore this committee to allow Hunter Biden to testify publicly. I implore and I ask for that to happen. And we cannot do that by getting engaged in this back and forth on a defiance of the subpoena. Let him comply. Let him do it today. Let him do it tomorrow. But let the man do it. And with that, I yield back to the ranking member.
The hearing focused heavily on Hunter Biden's decision not to appear for a closed-door deposition after receiving a congressional subpoena. Republicans argued that the subpoena carried legal obligations and that failure to comply could warrant contempt proceedings. During the debate, Byron emphasized that congressional subpoenas exist for a reason and that compliance should not depend on a person's political connections or last name. Donalds argued that Congress has historically expected private citizens to comply with subpoenas regardless of public opinion or media attention. His position was that allowing exceptions could weaken the institution's authority. For Republicans on the committee, the issue wasn't primarily about politics. It was about whether Congress would enforce its own rules consistently. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez challenged that interpretation. She argued that Hunter Biden had publicly offered to testify and that public testimony would allow Americans to see the proceedings directly rather than relying on closed-door sessions. AOC also raised concerns about the conduct of congressional investigations more broadly. She argued that oversight must operate fairly and that Congress itself should be held accountable to the standards it expects from others. According to her argument, transparency should be a central part of the process. She maintained that allowing public testimony could increase trust in the investigation and provide greater accountability for everyone involved. The disagreement quickly became less about one individual and more about how congressional oversight should function. Donalds responded by focusing on the legal distinction between public statements and official congressional documents. He argued that regardless of public comments made during hearings or interviews, the binding document remained the subpoena itself. According to Donalds, the question was straightforward: was the subpoena complied with or not? He stressed that Congress cannot selectively enforce its authority based on political circumstances. Supporters of Donalds viewed his argument as a defense of institutional consistency. They argued that changing the rules depending on the individual involved could create a dangerous precedent. As the exchange continued, tensions in the room noticeably increased. Both sides believed they were defending the integrity of the congressional process. Before we continue, make sure to click the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest hearing breakdowns and political analysis. Now back to the story. As the hearing progressed, the discussion expanded beyond Hunter Biden. Lawmakers debated broader questions about congressional authority, oversight powers, executive accountability, and public trust in government institutions. Supporters of stronger enforcement argued that congressional subpoenas must be respected to preserve the effectiveness of oversight investigations. Others emphasized the importance of transparency and public access during politically sensitive inquiries. The clash between Donalds and Ocasio-Cortez reflected a larger national debate about how accountability should work in modern politics. And that debate is unlikely to end anytime soon. By the end of the hearing, neither side appeared willing to back down. Republicans continued arguing that compliance with congressional subpoenas is essential to maintaining the authority of Congress. Democrats continued emphasizing transparency and fairness throughout the investigative process. What started as a discussion about one subpoena evolved into a broader debate about oversight, accountability, and the role of Congress itself. Now we want to hear from you. Should congressional subpoenas always be enforced exactly as written, or should witnesses have greater flexibility regarding how they testify? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.